On This Week in Enterprise Tech, we talk about whether the world is ready for 5G. Yahoo is back with a surveillance system, and we are joined by an expert guest from Access Communications, Bruce Stewart, to talk access control systems. Twiat on the set.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for This Week in Enterprise Tech is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This is Twiat, This Week in Enterprise Tech, episode 212, recorded October 21st, 2016. Access Control Systems.
This Week in Enterprise Tech is brought to you by Igloo Software. Igloo is an internet you'll actually like. It connects people with the information they need to do their best work. Try it for free at igloosoftware.com/twit or sign up for a live demo to see it in action. And literally by Sonic, Twit's 10-gig fiber internet service provider. Join Sonic's internet revolution as they bring fast, affordable internet, phone, and TV to homes and businesses all over California. Visit sonic.com/twit to sign up for service and receive your first month free. And by Jira Service Desk from Atlassian. Jira Service Desk delivers everything your IT team needs out of the box at a cost-effective price. For a free 7-day trial of Jira Service Desk, visit atlassian.com/twit.
Welcome to Twiat, This Week in Enterprise Tech, the show that is dedicated to the enterprise professional, the IT pro, and the geek who just wants to know how this world is connected. I am your host for today, Louis Maresca, and I'm your tour guide to all the world of enterprise, but I definitely don't want to be a tour guide alone. Today, I'm joined by one of my favorite people in the world and my co-host in crime this week, my plus one, the director of Advanced Network Computing Laboratory, Mr. Brian Chee. Brian, are you ready for some enterprise tag teaming today?
Oh, you betcha. Even with the interesting DDoS attack going on all over from the poor folks at Dyn. Unfortunately, the air conditioning in my lab is broken today. So like Callow was saying, you're going to be able to see a time lapse of Chee slowly melting.
We'll try to keep you as cool as possible. Well, folks, we have quite a show today. We talk about the world of 5G modems. Yahoo's back in the news with the new surveillance system that's kind of scary. And we're also joined by guests from Access Communications to talk about security control and the world of surveillance. But before we get into that, let's get into the blips. Have you tried your site for today? Well, my music stopped working on Spotify. I can no longer live in the real world with Twitter down. What will I do? As you know, as of the broadcast, a massive distributed denial of service attack, or DDoS, took down a big chunk of the internet for the most of the eastern part of the seaboard, and now it's affecting the West Coast too. Dyn's internet directory servers on the East Coast of the United States were dropped and stopped by a flooding malicious request disrupting the system. Dyn offers domain system names, or DNS services, essentially acting as an address book for the internet. The source of the attack is still unknown, and whether a botnet is at fault. Let's hope it's back up soon, or we might just have a bad weekend without streaming.
Well, Samsung is trying to deal with this, and they're setting up airport kiosks to help travelers with Galaxy Note 7s. Padre met a tourist in Rome recently who had just gotten word that he would not be able to travel that evening with his Note 7, and we're hoping that Samsung had set up their kiosk in Rome so he could have done a last-minute exchange before his flight. Bloomberg reports seeing a kiosk in Australia, and Ars Technica has gotten reports in a couple of U.S. airports. The goal is to help the traveler do data transfers, but the article doesn't elaborate on if device exchanges are also taking place.
The wave of 2016 telecom and internet acquisitions continues with the whispers of AT&T and the bids in a bidding war for Time Warner. This deal alone will give AT&T control of HBO, CNN, Warner Brothers, and other media assets. Last year alone, AT&T purchased DirecTV for $48.5 billion. Time Warner's current market value on IO is $70 billion. Interesting enough, back in 2014, Time Warner chief executive Jeff Bewkes rejected $80 billion offer for the 21st century from 21st Century Fox, which has been quite quiet right now as the whispers of AT&T's offering a bid. An agreement could be announced as early as Monday. This could create an uproar of additional net neutrality discussions.
Well, speaking of net neutrality and so forth, Amazon is actually looking at becoming an ISP in Europe, but not the US. So, in a quote, Amazon is reportedly considering offering home internet service in Europe. However, the company probably will not do so in the United States because US laws don't guarantee wholesale access to existing networks. Unlike the United States, many European carriers are required to provide network access to the competition so that Amazon could potentially offer internet services into European homes, but not in the United States. More than likely, Amazon would try to bundle internet and television through its Prime service in the UK and Germany to start. Either way, this is going to be a market to keep watch on.
iPhone 7 explodes, and not in a good way. With a bit of personal experience with this, when I received my iPhone Plus, it was actually defective and immediately overheated. Well, Matt Jones is no stranger to this issue. Matt left his phone in the car and under some clothes, and only to come back to his vehicle under smoke and his interior badly burned. Only a couple reports of this have happened so far, but let's just hope this is not another Galaxy Note 7 gate.
Da-da-da. The Czech police arrest a hacker behind the 2012 LinkedIn password theft. What is also happening is that Russia is trying to bring this hacker home, probably to fanfare, with the Czechs, but the Czechs are looking like they're going to tell them niet. Hopefully, this is going to send a message to hackers that borders are not going to keep them safe from prosecution, because it looks like the Czechs are going to give them to the U.S.
In other news, researchers have recently gave us the view through the looking glass to the future of lithium batteries. As a researcher points out at the University of Michigan, the future of lithium batteries is grim because you can't push the chemistry of it much further around capacity and speed of charging. One of the hurdles to get over is dendrites, which are tiny branch-like structures of lithium that form on the electrodes. Dendrites can pierce cell walls or limit the lithium's potential, reducing its efficiency and leading to fires and explosions. Galaxy Note. By adding a window into the lithium cell, researchers are now able to study how dendrites are forming and deforming during charging and discharging cycles, gaining new insights into how they can mitigate in real time. With time, new life might be fed into lithium's future. Well, folks, that does it for the blips. When we come back, we have the bites around Yahoo. Is it back? But this time, we also have, we're going to discuss surveillance systems, as well as Qualcomm is bringing 5G. And then we have our guest around security control. But first, we have an amazing supporter of This Week in Enterprise Tech, and Padre wants to tell you about it. Padre?
Thanks, guys. We'll get right back to you. But first, let's go ahead and take a moment to thank a sponsor of This Week in Enterprise Tech. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you like juggling a lot of tools? Do you like having 6 or 7 different things that you have to have on your desktop at all times in order to get your work done? Do you like confusing integrations? Well, of course you don't. Nobody likes that. So why aren't you doing something about it? You see, people are using 30 different cloud services to get their work done every day. And whether you're using Salesforce, Zendesk, or Google Drive, it's harder than ever to keep track of where you need to be throughout the day to get work done, especially if you're working in a team. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a way to bring all those apps, all those services, all those different tools into one single pane of glass? Well, folks, there is, and it's called Igloo. You see, Igloo is an internet you'll actually like. It's a cloud platform that helps you share files, collaborate on documents, blog your updates, coordinate calendars, and manage your projects. Unlike other solutions, you can customize Igloo to fit your needs and work with your current IT investments. This isn't a forklift upgrade where you're going to have to throw away everything that came before you. It will work with Office 365, Salesforce, SharePoint, Active Directory, file sharing solutions like Google Drive and Dropbox, and support systems like Zendesk. Igloo also supports a variety of access, authentication, and identity services to ensure that only authorized users have access to your Igloo in private clouds over SSL, and all with 256-bit encryption. It's used by large enterprises and growing companies like User Testing, BDO, American Family Insurance, and ATP World Tour. If they trust Igloo, don't you think you should too? If you're tired of having multiple tools scattered across your desktop, if you're tired of having your workflow jump from one app to the next, then you need to try igloosoftware.com/twit. That's igloosoftware.com/twit. Or sign up for a live demo to see it in action. When you sign up through our link, you can get your own Igloo for up to 10 people absolutely free for as long as you want. Once again, that's igloosoftware.com/twit. And we thank Igloo Software for their support of This Week in Enterprise Tech.
Well, let's go ahead and jump into the bites. So we've heard many discussions about the next standard in wireless, 5G. The only problem is the standard has not yet been established. Well, this isn't stopping Qualcomm. They're promising to launch the first 5G modem by 2018, running with the name Snapdragon X50, and it's no process that goes into that processor that goes into your smartphone. The chip will get a peak download speeds of 5 gigabytes per second. Now let's talk frequency bands. Normally 5G carriers are running at a whole slew of them, 850, 700, 1700, 1900, 2500, all across the board megahertz wise. Qualcomm is trying to lock down the 800 megahertz on the 28 gigahertz millimeter wave spectrum. This is similar frequency that Samsung, Nokia, and Verizon are looking at as well. So the frequency standard is still almost up in the air at this point. So Qualcomm is really early to the table. And there actually still looks at 73 gigahertz being pushed as well. So Cheebird, and this is something that manufacturers are going to need to handle well. At those speeds, the compute power alone and storage capability alone will need to be enhanced on mobile devices. So we're going to have to see a jump quite a bit in some devices, as well as efficiency and power consumption, because I can't imagine these radios and these processors actually consuming less power.
Yeah, the 5G is going to need to be a really, really big change. Previously, we had a lot of difference in processing power between a mobile platform and a desktop platform, and this is not going to be the same. You know, a Snapdragon is already a pretty beefy chip. And one thing that I should mention is, 73 gigahertz, 28 gigahertz, when you start getting into the millimeter wave band area, getting blocked by plants, by buildings, by walls, all kinds of things is a very big issue. What I see this really being for the concept of femtocells or microcells. So if you're at home and you want to be able to go and stream things very quickly, or you're in the office, I foresee the Qualcomm people working with the carriers to put in the same chip so you can handle the aggregation of a tiny cell in maybe as small as a work group, so that you can further detach. This is all that strategy. Wireless is just as good as wired. Yeah, sure. Now, one of the other things that could be really, really interesting is Qualcomm bought a corporation called Digital Fountain quite a while ago. And it is the technology that James Cameron used to move the dailies around in Avatar. Really, really big 4K streams that he had to go and send from the studios over to the production houses. So what Digital Fountain did, Kurt Franklin and I did some testing probably a decade ago. And I think we started with a 10 or 15 terabyte file and sent it from Honolulu to Gainesville. And when we did the testing and so forth over several iterations, we were getting a 10-fold to a 15-fold increase in throughput. And the way digital fountains do that is they channelize the data into lots of little channels. And if you have a reliable connection, it will purposely drop channels out and mathematically recreate them at the far side. So it does require a lot of computing power. And this is something that really appeals to the Qualcomm people, because they're in the business of selling really, really heavy duty mobile CPUs. And they're pushing harder and harder to change the mobile platform and make the gray line between a mobile and a desktop further blurry. And so there's going to be a lot of changes. 5G, like Lou said, isn't ratified yet. But in this case, what Qualcomm's trying to do is they're trying to push their standard by saying, hey, looky, we've got this system already ready to go. Why don't you adopt our system? Because we are not AT&T, we are not Verizon, we are not T-Mobile. We provide the plumbing for you guys to run on. We have better plumbing. So, Lou, this is something that ought to be really interesting, especially as, you know, Apple loves bigger and bigger CPUs, but they don't necessarily like Snapdragon, the Qualcomm chips. So this is going to be really interesting, especially since Qualcomm has been very, very strong in the Android world. And 5G, is this, I question though whether or not this is one of those, if we build it, will they come type of things. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that this is interesting because I think you bring up a good point as well, because, you know, that's such a high frequency and as well as such a high power consumption rate. You talk about attenuation and how the frequency and actually the signal can drop very quickly, especially at that high. So it's going to be difficult for them, I think, to get this adapted, even in scenarios that you're talking about with Digital Fountain. I mean, I think some scenarios could be that maybe we start to collect higher data streams from IoT devices using this, where it's just a short-term ranged device that's collecting data from the crowd and then data mining that data. The problem is, though, those IoT devices are going to need to be beefed up. They're going to have better batteries. They're going to have, you know, especially if they're wireless connectivity. I think there's going to be problems because, again, you know, attenuation is going to be a difficulty. It can't go through walls very easily. I mean, it can go through walls, but it can go very short distances. So I think that there's going to be quite a lot of problems, I think, going forward, that a lot of humps they're going to have to jump over. So I think this is almost a marketing ploy to say, hey, I'm getting to the table first. Let's hope the market follows. And I don't think we're going to see the light of day of this chip even adapted very soon, right away. I think it's going to be quite a bit of time before we get there. So this should be interesting how this all kind of plays out. So,
yep, indeed.
Yeah, indeed. So we do have one more story before we move on to our guests. The next story is interesting because we think about Yahoo. You know, hey, they're an internet company, they're an advertising company, and contrary to belief, they're still innovating around the world. This time, they're creating a scary surveillance system, but their patent describes it as targeting real-time advertising. On March 31st, 2015, Yahoo applied for a patent that would make the Stasi, or the German Ministry of State Security, cheer. Yahoo describes a system in which remote sensors would analyze a group of people to determine who is in a position to view an advertisement and how likely they were to engage with the content. These remote sensors would identify who were seen specifically via the use of biometric data and image recognition, and could target ads to broad demographics or narrowly tailor them to specific interests. But the reference to is previously stored marketing information, and obtaining data from marketing or user database is dead giveaway. So this is an interesting article because it's talking about how Yahoo is going to make use out of all the data they've been collecting over the years, as well as some additional technologies around image recognition, biometrics, marketing data, motion censoring, all these different things, and they're going to apply together in a more big data sense and analytics sense, and they're going to produce supposedly better marketing. So Brian, I want to throw it over to you. Do you think that this is the type of system that people are going to want to buy, or do you think it's just going to be a service that Yahoo will apply to big marketing firms around billboards and other things?
I don't know. Actually, I think what they're really looking at is things like the scenario of you're walking past the Victoria's Secrets and your phone comes up and ping. Did you remember to get a birthday gift for your honey bunny? All sorts of things. We actually saw some of this portrayed in the Blade Runner movie with Harrison Ford. And so I think it comes down to, is this something that we're all going to want to have? Because targeted marketing is pretty cool. If the reminder for buying my wife some nice lingerie when I go past Victoria's Secret comes up with a really great discount coupon, a lot of people might like that. We already get targeted marketing in the supermarkets and so forth. Depending on what we buy, those are the types of coupons that the manufacturers will pump out with our receipt. But people like the ACLU certainly do have some real big issues with this seemingly Orwellian society. And so basically what they're doing is Yahoo will no doubt protest that its ideas for mass surveillance databases are only meant for advertising, nothing more. But yet 2 days ago, the ACLU, as stated by the Ars Technica story, exposed how Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter all sold data from users' personal data feeds to a third-party company called Geofedia, and how that company was selling the data to police. Geofedia explicitly bragged to its police customers about how its data could be used to track protesters and demonstrators during events. Very Orwellian, if you ask me, and I figure our friend Joseph Stalin was probably grinning in his grave.
Indeed, I think this is an interesting story, because if you think about it, Yahoo is essentially saying, hey, we can do this as long as we blanket it under the fact that it's going to be using it for marketing. Because, we have marketing, NCAP marketing, and this type of marketing already with, when, you walk up to, an NCAP and it detects that you're there and it shows you some stuff. And in fact, they can even target some things based off of, image recognition if you're a man or a woman, and it'd be able to target specific things. But they've never done it at a more of a grander scale. How many people are looking? What direction are they looking in? What demographic are they in? And then again, using biometrics to even detect the personal information about them. I think this becomes a little bit scarier, seeing that they're also potentially using data streams from, like you said, social networks and other forms of data that will not only bring in who we are, but what we like, what we do. And again, this is just things that we obviously say, hey, it's on the social network, so it's not private, but it could be considered still an invasion of somebody's, I guess, fake view of privacy, right? I think that this is where it's, hey, I have a certain set of friends and I only kind of send this stuff to them. And now it's becoming more public because it's being crowdsourced in order to provide me better, quote unquote, advertising. So I think this is an interesting story, and it should be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm a little scared of it. There's an awful lot of things that could go wrong. There's an awful lot of places for misuse. And I applaud the ACLU for protecting our civil liberties. Thank you very much.
Indeed. Well, folks, that does it for the bites, but don't go anywhere, because next up we have an interview with security access control expert from Access Communications, Mr. Bruce Stewart, where we talk a bit about complete solutions and around management. But before we do that, let's go ahead and thank another amazing sponsor of This Week in Enterprise Tech, and Padre wants to tell you about it. Padre?
So we'll get right back to the action, but first let's go ahead and take another moment to thank another sponsor of the Twiat Riot. Now, over the years, you've heard me say a lot that this X was brought to you by Y, but this time, I really mean it. This Week in Enterprise Tech is literally brought to you by Sonic. That's our 10-gig fiber service provider. You see, every bit, every byte, every bit of audio and video comes to you over Sonic's fiber. If you're impressed with the service, there's a good reason for that, because Sonic isn't a regular ISP. They're not just another company looking to give you telephone and internet exchange and, your TV. They are a service company with heart. They understand that the internet infrastructure in the United States is a mess. It needs fixing. There are too many people who are paying too much for unsatisfactory cable internet, and they're here to do something about it. You see, Sonic's mission is to bring internet freedom to all with unlimited and uncapped internet. They deliver residential and business fiber to the premise networks with gigabit connectivity in San Francisco, the North Bay, and the East Bay. Internet service includes 15 email accounts and 1 gigabyte of storage, personal web hosting with a new domain, and fax line service. For only $40 per month, Sonic offers you download speeds of up to 1,000 megabits per second. Is that enough for you? Well, it shouldn't be, because they also give you more. You see, a home phone connection with unlimited local and long-distance calling is included in all of their services. And switching from your current carrier is easy. You can even keep your existing phone number. By standing up for privacy, friendly and local customer support, uncapped bandwidth, and affordable pricing for all products, Sonic's customer advocacy is paving the way for a better state of the internet access in America. Folks, if you're tired of the old monopolies, if you're tired of bundled services that aren't really a bundle, if you're tired of discount internet that just performs really, really poorly, then you're going to want to try Sonic. Join the internet revolution. Visit sonic.com/twit and receive your first month of Sonic internet and phone service for free. Plus, bundle with Dish and save $120 off your entire Sonic bill. Visit sonic.com/twit. That's sonic.com/twit. And we thank Sonic for their support of This Week in Enterprise Tech.
Thanks, Padre. Well, folks, this brings me to my favorite part of the show, where we bring in outside experts onto This Week in Enterprise Tech to dump their knowledge onto the Twilight Riot. And on this episode, we talk about topics that a lot of enterprise businesses and even consumers alike are wondering about: security, access control. And physical systems come together, and you need to manage them somehow. So we like to welcome Business Development Manager for Access Control at Access Communications, Mr. Bruce Stewart. We all know about Access and their network offerings and their network video offerings. They have quite the portfolio of security solutions. Welcome again, Bruce. Can you tell us a little bit about what Access does and maybe the type of work you do there?
Sure. Thank you. Like you mentioned, Lou, Access is well known for our network video solutions that we designed and came out with. Our first network camera was back in 1996, and we introduced that into the marketplace. And it was a very long process to get the image. I think it was one frame every 30 seconds or whatever it was back then. It was quite a long time frame. So we've come quite a ways since then, and it took a while for Access to get the network video as an accepted solution. It was a slow process, but today we're one of the leaders in the network video solutions. And like you mentioned, we've actually expanded our solutions, not just with video, but now we're in the access control, we're in audio, video door stations, we're in the thermal cameras. So we've come out with solutions now that we can offer a total solution for a integrator to take to their end customers to provide those solutions to them as well. As far as my role here at Access, I manage a team of regional business development managers. I have one regional business development manager in each of our business areas. We have 6 business areas across the United States. So I have one manager in each one of those business areas, and their role and our role as a team is to drive our large enterprise type solutions with our access control, our audio, and also our video solutions.
Right. It's interesting that you mentioned that. I mean, we've seen kind of the evolution of video systems, obviously being these closed circuit systems, and then now they're moving to more of a connected system. And we're starting to see a trend of kind of moving away from the physical access control systems to security information and event-driven systems, which are more IT-driven. It doesn't seem like the traditional physical access control systems are really keeping up at this point. And most of them don't really provide solutions for the IT around event management systems and things like swipe readers and proximity detectors and biometric readers and access cards, VoIP integration, so on. There's a ton of access control systems. It seems like they're all kind of popping up all over the place. Bruce, can you tell us a little bit about what makes a good one and what people should be looking for?
Well, again, the traditional access control systems, like you mentioned, are the proprietary hardwired systems that have been around for years. I myself, when I worked for an integrator, used to sell these systems as well. And now we're moving into the world of open platform network devices to make it easier, less costly to implement these systems for companies, less wiring, less labor-intensive hardwiring systems, disrupting companies with technicians up in the ceilings, pulling wires. Now we just need, with our new IP devices, we can just get a network drop at the door and have a very short wiring run to connect the motion detector, the door status switch, the reader. We can also have a network drop for the door video station. So we have two-way audio communication for some of these doors as well as a camera drop. So the network devices make it a lot more of an easier application to install, less disruption. Some of the biggest challenges today is getting some of these the old school thinking of the typical proprietary and the hardwire systems to migrate into this open platform. There's still some resistance from some, but there's many articles out there that have been written that that's the way of the future for access control. Just like the video went from the analog to the IP world, they all are saying that the access control is doing the same thing. And for those that are slow to change or don't want to change or resist that change, they could be left in behind in the cloud. So I think there's a lot of that happening right now. There's more and more companies coming out with an IP access control device to keep up with this and to adapt to the requirements of the customers.
So I wanted to go and jump in. I'm an ex-federal security officer, and access control is a big deal. Right. I will say the big issue that I always had, especially in heavily unionized towns, is the EMT, the galvanized steel conduit required for traditional hardwire systems. The conduit can sometimes be 3 to 10 times more expensive than the access control system.
Sure.
And the other problem that I always used to have with this is we've got so many key cards. Some places, because the systems are so proprietary, I cannot reuse key cards. So in one installation, I actually had 5 key cards just to get in to the high security area. And so one of the things that's really changing is that I'm so excited about the access control systems, which is kind of sounds fun, is that it's integrated. It's more of an IT product that has a lot of features that the traditional physical plant people want. But from the IT perspective, we're now able to go and start integrating into things like security event managers. So my favorite example is, I had a card swipe from, Joe Cool, but simultaneously, or within a minute or so, I had a VPN connection from Joe Cool in Australia. Separately, those two events, no big deal. But together, wow, that's a pretty big deal. I think Joe Cool's key card got stolen. So the merger is really, really getting me excited about the way things are changing. And the IT world is definitely helping the physical access security market, if you ask me.
Absolutely. And again, you're seeing more, I think we'll be seeing more biometric use in the future for access control to provide a true identification of people accessing secured areas versus the traditional cards. Just like Bluetooth with the BLE technology, the mobile access, using your mobile phones to access controlled secured areas versus the standard key cards. And again, there's still a lot of the older key cards, the 125 megahertz, that are very, very easy to duplicate. There's been plenty of documentation on the internet how it's so easy to duplicate some of the older proximity technology or the old Wigian technology. So now you've got the new HID credentials, the highest security credentials that customers are converting over into. But you're right. The security of who gets in is a huge responsibility to be secured. And today, with us moving into the IT world, there's a lot of companies that are actually taking over control of those access control systems. Even intrusion systems, if they're going to run on the network, they're going to be managed by the people in the IT departments. So whether your facilities people or your security department, those are the teams that are going through this migration period of, okay, now we're going to be working in the IT department. We need to learn their lingo and language because now they're going to be managing all these devices. Anything that goes on a network naturally is managed by the IT department, and they want to utilize standard networking tools to be able to monitor and troubleshoot these.
Right. Bruce, you mentioned a little bit about, kind of integration with existing systems and, how identity management is kind of important. Can you talk a little bit about, how customers are utilizing this and how they're integrating it into existing directory systems like AD and LDAP?
Well, again, we manufacture the A1001 controller, which is our hardware, and we utilize partner solutions. We have an embedded web-based solution, a very basic access control software in our A1001 controller, but it's really for a small basic access control system. So we don't have that kind of integration with our own entry manager product, but we rely on our partners that we work with. We have several partners that do enterprise access control software, and they have the integration to the LDAP or the Microsoft AD integration, where they want the Active Directory, they want people, they want HR to import a new employee, and that dumps it into the access control system, and that's really managed by our software solution partners. So you're right, that is a requirement of a lot of the bigger systems, but that's something that's provided by the software providers.
Right. Now, something obviously important is data flow, right? We were talking about, events and then reporting off those events and kind of flowing those out so that professionals can make decisions and even software can make decisions off of that. What kind of things do access control systems do to kind of handle this type of flow of information?
Well, we have web applications now, web apps that, they can check on things through the web, through an app, or they can get their notifications sent to their through a text messages or emails on their phones, so they have instant access to any kind of an issue that could be happening at the facilities, and they can have instant response.
So it sounds like ways, they obviously integrate in multiple ways. They can provide multiple data streams in different variances and integrate with older systems and old legacy systems. Is there a standard that these systems follow when you're choosing one from an access control standpoint, from a control center standpoint?
Well, I mean, that's a tough question to answer, but there's a lot of the older access control systems out there, and there are many. I don't want to name names, but there are many out there that use similar hardware. So there are companies that have the ability to talk to that existing hardware that exists in a customer's location, as well as adapt and bring in new network IP solutions to that existing system. And that's the biggest challenge when a customer is in discussions with us about, I have an XYZ system, we've made a significant investment in a lot of hardware and labor. We need to update, we're not happy with the software, it's not meeting our requirements. What's our out? Do we have to rip and replace, or is there any way we can utilize what we have and move forward, bringing in a software that will give us a more open platform? And that's the partners that we work with today have that capability of taking over a lot of these old legacy type hardware platforms, keep that hardware in place, and start building on the new requirements, whether it's new sites with new IP controllers. And that's a huge savings to both the customer, and then they're just learning really a new software platform. The biggest challenge naturally is bringing in all that existing data from the older database software and migrating that into the new software, and that's usually the biggest challenge.
Right. You kind of tipped on it just a little bit. Maybe we get it a little bit more detail. Is when somebody is planning to switch something that they have today and move to a new system, what types of things do they have to consider? You talked a little bit about, obviously, I have a bunch of data already and I need to kind of pipe it somewhere else. What are some of the other things they should consider when it comes to, choosing a new one?
Well, I mean, there's so many different factors that go into that, but it's really, software that they feel that they can grow with. They're looking for expandability and be able to get into that open platform, where a lot of these customers that we talk to today are not in an open platform. They're in a proprietary system. The software is only going to talk to the hardware that's manufactured by that manufacturer. So they feel that they're locked in. But yeah, they need to be able to grow into something that's more adaptable to their needs. And the security has changed today. It's rapid, it's quick, it's mobile, and that's what customers are looking for. They're looking for that adaptability and be able to, bring in these open technologies, integrate their video, integrate their door stations, integrate their access control, integrate intrusion, integrate visitor management. These are all things that play into the decisions as to, how do we move forward? We have all these separate systems. How do we integrate them all together? And that's the biggest challenge. It's a big thought process behind it.
Right. Makes sense. So it seems like there's lots of things to consider when it comes to actually choosing one, and we'll probably talk about it a little bit more. But before we do that, before we return and talk about that, we do have another amazing sponsor and supporter of This Week in Enterprise Tech. And again, Padre wants to tell you about it. Padre?
This Week in Enterprise Tech is brought to you by Jira Service Desk from Atlassian. Are you tired of a lot of tools that don't work well together? Well, of course you are. Well, then don't do it anymore. Instead, get Jira Service Desk. You see, Jira Service Desk is a new service management software that IT teams will love to use. It's built on the Jira platform, and it delivers everything that your IT team needs out of the box at a cost-effective price. With Jira Service Desk, you'll be able to give customers an easy way to ask for help, to help your agents be productive, from putting out fires to helping employees get their stuff done. It'll help you stay on top of service-level agreements, not an easy task, with dynamic queues and mobile alerts. It also helps you to automate repetitive tasks so that your agents can focus on solving the important stuff. Jira Service Desk is simple to set up and so affordable that you won't even need your boss's approval. We use the Jira Service Desk here at the Twit Studios because, we needed help when we put the new studio into play and a new workflow. Jira helps us to keep all of the problems contained and even gives us a history so we know what's been problematic in the past and helps us point to the future. Now, our IT department uses Jira Service Desk to track projects and tasks assigned to each project as it moves from concept to implementation to the final product. Now, they take advantage of Jira Service Desk customization to track tasks and progress made by assignees using swim lanes for the department's Kanban board. Jira Service Desk provides real-time visualizations. Once a task is complete, the ticket is moved to the completed column, which helps you to know which tasks are still outstanding. Jira Service Desk integrates with other Atlassian products like HipChat, so notifications from Jira Service Desk are easily sent via HipChat and vice versa. For a free trial of Jira Service Desk, visit Atlassian.com/twit. The first 100 signups will receive a free t-shirt. See why over 20,000 IT teams love Jira Service Desk. For a free 7-day trial, visit Atlassian.com/twit. Atlassian.com/twit. And we thank them for their support of This Week in Enterprise Tech.
So, thank you so much, Padre. What I'd really like to go now is, we've got a few questions coming out of the chat room, and we touched on it. Your access control system has a baby web server in it, but the question I want is, what kinds of things do we need to start looking at? Is, say we've got a small to medium-sized business that wants to just secure one or two doors to start and see how it goes. Bruce, what kinds of things do we need to talk about in planning for an access control system? What are the gotchas?
Okay, so in a small system like that, Brian, yes, I mean, our web-based software is really geared to that, 2 to 10 door, 12 door system to start out with some basic access control features. We do have limitation of credentials that we support with that software. So it depends, you might only have 1 or 2 doors in the facility to start out with, but if, in our instance specifically, if you have more than 400 credentials in the system that you need, then we need to push that out to one of our partners. We only support 400 credentials with our web-based software. So, basic questions like that. What is the system expected to do? Is it a brand new greenfield installation, or is this a takeover? If it's a takeover, then what features are you using presently that you need to use in the new system? Our solution may or may not fit that mold. But again, we have our partner solutions that if if our entry manager solution won't fit that particular need of the customer, then we can recommend one of our partner solutions to be able to build on. But you can start out with a 1 to 2 door system if it fits the mold of the entry manager feature set. Then we can start out with 1 to 2 doors. We can go up to 33 controllers. Our controllers support either 1 or 2 doors, depending on the installation. And so it can handle a large, a good size system for access control as far as the controllers. It's really limited with the credential support. So again, we have many small systems, 2 doors, 4 doors, that have over 1,000 credentials, and that's where we really can't utilize our solution, but have to utilize a partner solution.
Okay, so another quick question that came pre-show. Quote, in the inevitable collision between physical plant and IT, what suggestions would you make to help smooth the waters?
Yeah, I've seen some of that in action with some of our meetings that I've attended, and again, it's I think the biggest thing from what I've heard is the IT department, when they're taking over the security, the access control, or the video, it's really, they're learning the security language, and the physical plant security people are trying to learn the IT language. And, there's a little space between those two. But again, the plant security needs to come up to the IT, because now the IT is going to manage this. It's going to go on their network. They have a huge responsibility putting anything on that network, protecting it, making sure that it's has good physical protection, and they want to utilize the tools that they use every day, the IT tools that they use every day to troubleshoot any device that's on that network. And that's one of the biggest things that I've seen, is trying to make sure that the manufacturers that are coming out with network security devices, they need to be able to utilize existing IT tools to be able to troubleshoot that. They don't want to have to go into the access control software to find out what's going on with a particular device. They want to be able to go right to that device. They want to speak to that device and troubleshoot it through their own IT tools that they utilize today.
So Bruce, interesting thing is we get some questions about this is, around the kind of the integration of, VoIP services with some of the door based systems, and, having the cameras with the two-way audio. Do you see a lot of big advantages to moving that type of system?
Well, we thank you for the ad there. We introduced the 804 last year, our network door station. We've had tremendous success with this, and we just recently launched the smaller version to the right, the Mullion style, the 8105. They could be standalone door stations that could provide the video, the audio, and also unlock the door. They can be integrated with our A1001 controller as well. So the controller could be, the door can be unlocked by the access control device. But we're seeing a very good market for both of these devices, and especially now with the new Mullion style, it takes up less real estate at the door, which has always been an issue with the bigger product. The bigger product really can go out in some of the exterior spaces, but the 8105 is really good for interior spaces as well as some exterior locations that are under protected areas. But we're seeing a huge investment being made by many integrators that are providing these solutions to their customers, and we're pretty pleased with the success we've had with these two products so far.
So one of the partnerships that we've been hearing about is, the Apero Wireless, and how they're, bringing more integration into the access control and entry manager.
Yep.
Do you know a little bit about that partnership and what they're doing, and what they kind of bring to the table, and how they kind of show that integration access?
We do integrate to the Apero Abloy Apero wireless locks. We support 8 wireless locks with our entry manager software with one wireless Apero hub. And again, that allows you to expand your system using one A1001 controller. You can have one reader, standard reader, and then you can use the second reader port for that Apero hub, which will add 8 additional doors with the wireless locks. So we do have some customers that have utilized that solution. And again, our partners, our software partners that we partner with on the larger systems, they all have integration to the Perio wireless locks already, so they also can provide that solution.
So, Bruce, I've got one last question for you. And that goes around, at a major university, obviously I'm an academic. We've got all kinds of goofy doors. We've got the emergency breaker bars. We've got a requirement from our campus security for a physical key access override. How do you start dealing with a lot of these legacy systems in here? Do you have a lot of the toolkits? Do you have partners that you work with to integrate those things in?
Well, again, a lot of the locking hardware, that's really, we leave that up to the integrator to find that solution. A lot of the integrators that we work with are some of our access partners. They will utilize professional lock installers, locksmiths, high security door locks, because like you said, there are so many different locks out there and crash bars and fire codes and things like that. So every place has got a different requirement, and the integrators, it's a tough challenge for them to try to figure out all the hardware that's needed at a door. So that's why a lot of these companies will, I know from my experience when I worked for an integrator, we always subbed it out to a professional lock installer that really knows the codes and all the different locking mechanisms that are out there, because there's so many to work with. Hope that answers your question, Brian.
Yes, it does. Lou, what do you think? Got it? Anything else you want to go from? Maybe you want some access door control systems for your offices at Microsoft. What do you think?
Sounds good to me, Brian.
Pretty good ones, but yeah, we could always use new ones.
There you go.
Fantastic. Thanks, Bruce. We really appreciate you being here. And unfortunately, we've run out of time. And folks, you've done it again. You've closed up another hour of listening to the best staying enterprise show on the planet, according to 9 out of 10 entry card systems. Business development manager from Access Control, Access Control at Access Communications, Mr. Bruce Stewart. Bruce, thank you so much for being on This Week Enterprise Tech. This was a great episode. I learned a lot, actually. Can you tell the folks at home where you can find your work and a little bit more about Access?
Access Communication, www.access.com. That's our website. And again, we're based here. I'm based here in the we call it the Boston office, which is about 20 minutes west of Boston in Chelmsford, Massachusetts. We have offices across the country now. We have an office in Irvine, California. We have an office in Chicago. We soon will have an office opening up in Dallas. And we also have an office opening up in southern Florida in Fort Lauderdale, I believe. So we'll have an office in every one of our business areas moving forward. And we utilize these offices, we call them our Access Experience Centers, to bring in customers, to show the solutions, to show the manufacturers' software, different VMS partners, our access control partners. We can bring a customer into our AEC and show and do a demonstration of our cameras, our access control, our door stations, our thermal cameras, our speakers, our interior audio speakers that we just released. So we can bring our customers and the integrators into these AECs, and they can have a live presentation and live demo and touch and feel and ask questions and see the differences in some of our solutions with partners.
Thanks, Bruce. That was Bruce Stewart from Access Communications. Thank you so much for being part of the Twilight Riot. And also thank you to my co-host in crime this week, our duo in crime. Thank you so much for being here, Brian. Can you tell a little bit about to the folks at home where they can find you and all your work?
I'm on Twitter at ADVNETLAB. But, one of these fine days, we're actually budgeting for it. We're going to be putting in a whole bunch of these really cool stainless steel access cameras. They're marine grade, and you actually pressurize them with nitrogen. Those are going to go into the RV Kilo Moana. and replacing the old analog camera system. In fact, I'm actually designing a digital signage system so that the people on board can just touch camera icons on the ship map, and it'll actually bring up the camera. And it's going to be great because we're even going to be putting a thermal camera on the back deck so that we can watch the heat of different experiments on the back deck without having to go into the weather. So look forward to being able to tell the Twilight Riot all about how we did a custom installation for the ship.
Sounds great, Brian. Thanks.
You have to work on all the fun stuff, Brian. That was Mr. Brian Chee, director of the Advanced Network Computing Laboratory in Honolulu, Hawaii. Thank you for coming. And of course, thank you to you, our loyal listeners and viewers. We love doing the show, and without you, we couldn't do this week Enterprise Tech. With you coming back week after week listening to Twilight. And in order to show our gratitude, head over right now and you check out some more of our stuff. The twit.tv/Twilight. Once you're there, you can see our entire archive of Twilight episodes and show notes, especially this episode. Episodes are in high definition audio and video, all different which ways you can download and subscribe. And also remember, we do the show live every week at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. You can check off the show live at live.twit.tv. And as long as you're watching live, why not just jump into our chat room at irc.twit.tv. You can ask live questions and talk with the guests and inspire us. So maybe change the way the show is going and maybe add some more value to the show. And finally, thank you to everyone at Twit who makes this show possible. Thanks to Leo and Lisa for continuing to let us do This Week in Enterprise Tech each week. Thank you to Brian, our super producer. And, of course, thank you to Father Rob Ballister for taking us on his adventures in Enterprise. Of course, thank you to our TD this week. Kevin, you have a camera on you, Kevin? Can you tell a little bit of the folks at home what you do?
No camera on me, but I am here, and I change my sleep schedule depending on how many edits I need to make.
Indeed. And hopefully this one won't be too bad for you, right, Kevin?
No problem.
So you can always follow me at twitter.com/LuMM, a great place to see what I do outside of the studio, as well as a place to suggest topics and future guests for This Week in Enterprise Tech. Until next time, I am Louis Maresca, and just reminding you, if you want to know what's going on in the Enterprise, just keep quiet.